What's up, guys? It's your man I Do a Barber, and I'm back with another haircut tutorial. And in this one, we're gonna fade some Asian hair. We're gonna find out how hard it is to really fade Asian hair. I hear people say it's hard. I hear some people say it's difficult, but I'm here to hopefully prove you wrong and actually build a little bit of confidence in the way you fade Asian hair. So we're starting this one off. We're doing like a mohawkish guideline. In the end, the fade is going to look like a drop fade, although the guideline is going to look like a V. And just pay attention to my client's hair, because as you look at his hair now, it's black, which is the case with most Asian people, that their hair is just naturally dark and black. But my client here, he has color on top of his hair. He actually has salt and pepper underneath here. So that's another thing that we get to handle in this video, is how to fade salt and pepper hair. So as you see on this side, you could probably see more of the salt and pepper versus the other side. So a lot of people, from what I've heard and seen, they struggle with salt and pepper hair, especially when I look at people's blends that fade salt and pepper hair. They struggle with it sometimes. So hopefully some of the little tips and tricks I'll show you in this video will help. So I'm just creating that guideline as you saw, and I'm removing it with my Slimline Pro Elize. You can use whatever you like. Slim lines, you can use another trimmer, detachable with the 5-0 or outliner blade, whatever makes you comfortable. So now I'm following that up with the shaver, and I'm going up about a ½ inch underneath that guideline, because I don't want to bring it too high. I don't want to make it where it's really hard for me to remove that shaver line, but that's okay because my trimmers are set up properly. All of my tools are set up properly to flow into one another, so I don't have these problems. And as you do to one side, you will do to the other. So as you see here, coming right underneath with that shaver, getting it nice and smooth, just to add that little bit of extra contrast and that little bit of an extra pop to your fade. If you don't have a shaver, you can use the razor if you have one. If you don't have a shaver, you can go with the grain or you can go against the grain. I've done both. So as you see here, I've got my MBs with the level open, creating a 1-inch guideline. So I'm making sure that guideline is consistent with this blend. The guideline will be consistent all the way through. Sometimes with a drop fade or maybe a mid drop fade, the guideline may be one length on the sides, but then it may expand in the back due to the hair in the back generally being more coarse and dense. You gotta go up a little bit higher in those areas. But in this one, we're going 1 inch, equal partings all the way through each guideline. So as you see there, that guideline looks like a V, almost looks like a mohawk in the back, but it will not come out looking like a mohawk. So we're gonna start on the other side, and we're gonna start with the lever halfway open, and we're going up about 3/4 of the way into that guideline, and we're gonna slightly start removing this guideline slowly and slowly. So you can see the height of the blade that travels up into the section. You can see the height that I'm going up. And now I've lowered the level just a little bit more, and I'm going slightly underneath, as you can see right here. I'm slowly lower my lever so I can slowly remove this line. Now, in the manner in which you work, that's all up to you. Whether you work bottom up or top down. Me personally, I work top down to clean up, and that's just my preference. Ultimately, once you find your stride and what works for you, you'll do what works best for you. And that's ultimately what I want you guys to do. Do what works best for you. I like working in this manner because I can dictate the contrast of the blend a little bit better than if I were to just go straight up with the blend. And that's generally what a lot of people that fade down will tell you, is that they like fading down because they can control the contrast of the blend, and you could actually get to see the blend happening as you're doing it. So now I'm just coming in with my trimmers, and I'm using the corner just to remove like a little remnants of that line there before we move on to the next side. Because in this manner that I work, I like to work like this because before I move on to the next section, I'll make sure the first section or the prior section is complete first, because what will end up happening is you'll end up exposing those flaws as you go into the haircut. So that's one thing you want to do. You want to just make sure that all of those little flaws and little problems are done before you move on. So as you see here, I'm playing with this little area. I saw a little something, so I'm just going back, working myself down. So now we're on to the other section, and we're gonna do the same thing as always, on any fade, especially if you fade 50-50. What you do on one side, you will do to the other. So that's very important. One thing that you guys need to remember when working like that. And as you see, the line is slowly disappearing, and you'll see it slowly disappear immediately once you close that lever halfway. The lever or the guideline will slowly disappear. And as you see now, I've lowered the level a lot, and you see I'm working my way closer and closer to the bottom. Now the thing with salt and pepper hair is you want to spread out the blend on salt and pepper hair. This is one thing that I see people do with salt and pepper hair. Is one mistake that I see people make with salt and pepper hair is that they don't stretch out the blend, because with salt and pepper hair you may not get the perfect contrast straight away. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Salt and pepper is very unpredictable because they may have more pepper than salt or more salt than pepper. So it really just depends on the client, and you have to make that in-game decision. But generally you need to spread out the blend on salt and pepper hair so the contrast looks appropriate. And now I have the 1.5 blade on, and I'm going up another inch. And here's another thought when it comes to salt and pepper hair. Just imagine if someone has red hair mixed with a little bit of black hair, or they have blonde hair mixed with like spots of dark brown hair. The contrast of that, if you try and blend it, won't look well, because those dark blonde hairs or that black hair on red hair, it's gonna pop out and stick out more. It's gonna make it look more dark. So like if you look in the back there of his hair, you see how that hair is dark right there, but on the left side you can see a lot of the salt. Now if that area is not blended out, it's gonna look funny. The contrast isn't gonna look appropriate. As you see, look at the side that I'm fading right now. I've got the wall half with the lever open, by the way. You see that area, it's gonna fade really easy, but that little V right there, that area where it's very dark, I need to really spread out that area. And this is what I mean about spreading out the blend. Because if you try and do a very compressed blend on salt and pepper hair, like I say, depends on the client, it may not come out looking very well. So you have to remember that when it comes to salt and pepper hair, you got to spread that blend out. Sometimes you got to kind of do a little bit of magic work where some spots you may have to take a little bit shorter than others. And one thing I've noticed with salt and pepper hair as well, you could actually hide a lot of mistakes in salt and pepper hair. Actually, I've noticed that, and don't take that as a reason to give someone a fucked up haircut. I'm just telling you, it's one of those things you can do. You can hide some mistake, not in all salt and pepper hair. Like with his, you can't really hide mistakes in his hair because his skin is so light. The darker the hair or the darker the skin complexion, the better if you're trying to hide mistakes. If you want to be a lazy ass. So as you see here, you see the hair on the right side is very light, but as you get to the back, it's very dark. And I'm just having to pay a little bit of extra attention there. You see that little area I was just working in, those little dark patches there? That's just that salt and pepper hair, man. It's exactly what I'm trying to tell you guys. So right now I'm just working in this area in the back. Like I say, generally this area you have to spend a little bit of more time than the side. I don't know why that is, that the hair in the back is more dense and sometimes more coarse than the sides of the hair, and that it's that much harder to fade than the sides of the hair. I really don't. I wonder if there's some scientific explanation that someone can give me in the comments. So now I've got the 3.5 blade on, and I'm going straight up off the side of his head. because I want to keep the shape. I don't want to go into the round of his head. This is what I want. I've been cutting my man Tony's hair for a while, and sometimes he'll want me to go through the round of his head, and you know, obviously you know what kind of shape that will create, but I like to go and try and keep his hair shape square, more masculine, because I think it complements him better rather than him just looking like he has like an egghead. So same thing on the other side, 3.5, and right under this 3.5, I'm going to follow this up with the 2 blade, and it's the same process. I worked through each level. I started big and then I worked my way small. So see right here, as we went up higher, I had to stretch out this blend in this area a little bit more because that dark hair was just throwing off the contrast. You know, unfortunately, this wasn't like any other fade where I could just typically go through my system and then everything will be hunky-dory. But this is barbering, guys. This is what you need to understand in barbering. Every haircut is not a cookie cut. Every haircut will not be the same. The methods that you use on every haircut, every client will not be the same. Everyone's hair is different. Everyone's texture is different. And through experience and through trial and error, because this is a practice, you will learn how to navigate each canvas as they come in, because you can lean on experience, because you've been here before. You know how to do this and you know the steps to take, because before you start cutting hair, you need to have a plan. So right now I'm just using thinning shears to soften up the parietal ridge before we transition to the top, and I'm just softening it up. I'm gonna come back with some clipper over comb just to refine the shape, but right now I'm just using the thinning shears to soften that up. So again, I've got my 2 blade on and I'm just softening up one area. So now we're gonna do the top of his hair, and as you see that little area right there on the side of his box, we're gonna lighten that up because I can tell that area is just a little bit dark for me, and we'll fix that later. So we're gonna do basic, very basic scissor cutting on the top. So this is how much you want it off, and I took it off, and I'm just gonna over direct the hair backwards and cut all the hairs from there. So right now I'm just getting that front portion where I like it and where he wants it, as he just told me. I'm just making sure that's the amount of length that he wants to leave. And of course, I'm gonna over direct the hair backwards and remove the length this way. Very classic, easy, and quick way of cutting hair, especially if you're in a rush in a barbershop, especially, you know, if you have people waiting and you don't want to spend much time sectioning the hair. This is a very easy and effective way to cut the hair on top. And of course, you know, you can cross-check everything after once you finish and do any cleanup if need be. Very, very simple. And one thing you'll see me do in this tutorial is you'll see me comb. You see how I'm combing? I'm just like flicking at the hair. There's a reason I do that. And I noticed I've done this in some of my other tutorials. No one's ever asked me why I'm doing this, but I felt that I needed to explain why you'll see me just combing and flicking at the hair like this. I'm doing this to see if there's any odd long hairs that stick out that really aren't where they should be. And you'll see the reason why I do this come to light here in a second, because you'll see me as I'm combing through the hair. I'm just combing through different little sections, just seeing how the hair lays, and I'm just really checking to see if there's long hairs that I may have missed that pops out. So right now, like I said earlier, I'm just using scissor over comb to refine the shape, and I'm going to use a scissor over comb to lighten up that little area right there that was dark earlier. So as you see, just more clipper over comb, refining the shape. Now, by all means, you can start off with clipper over comb. And I think I need to do a tutorial with this where I create the shape first with clipper over comb and then come in to do the fade later, because I'm going to be honest with you, if you're very proficient, if you're confident enough to do clipper over comb, you can come in straight away and use clipper over comb and knock out a lot of what I did. You know, you could eliminate me using the 3.5 blade, the 2 blade. You know, you can eliminate a lot of that just simply by using clipper over comb. I need to do a tutorial on this, so stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And as you see, just refining the shape, because as I said, and as you saw, I was using the blending scissors, so you know, you don't get much effect with those as far as creating shape. So right now I'm just doing some point cutting, adding some texture to his hair. So as we put product in and as he wears it, it'll style properly. And I'm just coming in and I'm adding it to different sections. And I'm actually, with this point cutting, for those of you that want to know more of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, as you can probably see if you look closely, like this technique of point cutting, I'm really using it to add texture, but I'm also using it to remove length at the same time. So like this section here, you see how that's long? I'm using this point cutting to reduce length. So as you saw right there, that length has been removed. So I'm using it to remove weight and remove length at the same time, because you can simply go in and point cut to where you just only remove weight. So you see how I'm flicking at the hair, and you see that big long hair that just stuck out right there. So see, now I'm gonna instantly attack this. And it's kind of funny, I was cutting a guy's hair a couple days ago and I pulled up a big section of his hair because I was like, all right, I'm gonna add some texture in here. And I pulled a section of his hair and I went really deep into the hair, and he stopped me before I was about to cut his hair. And he said to me, "You're not gonna take all the hair off, are you?" I was like, no, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna do some deep point cutting and remove some weight. I'm not gonna take any length off. So you guys need to be careful in how you're point cutting, because there's many different ways. You know, just because you might see someone point cutting, you need to understand why they're point cutting, not just the maneuver. You know, you don't just want to be walking through here just doing moves, because that's how you're gonna end up fucked up in these streets, because you're doing stuff that you don't understand why. So now I'm using the clay and I'm using this to style, and I'm just going over his hair. We're gonna create like a spiky look, if you will. The dry matte clay has a lot of hold, matte finish. I like it, smells good, and we're gonna use this to style. So very simple, easy way to handle salt and pepper hair for you guys that may struggle with it. Not sure if you've had any clients with salt and pepper hair, but very easy, guys. Like I want you guys to be confident going into these haircuts, because they're honestly not that hard. They're not that difficult, guys. You got to go into these haircuts with confidence. So a little bit ass backwards right here. I'm actually doing the edge up at the very, very last. Like typically you'd cut the hair, fade it, style, you know, cut the top and then edge them up. Shoot, I put product in, then did the edge up, which I kind of, with him, he doesn't get like a full edge up. So sometimes him being without an edge up, depending upon the style he gets, because he switches it up quite a bit, it just depends. And sometimes he doesn't, and looks good with it, and sometimes he does. So in this moment, I was originally going to leave him without an edge up until I saw it at the end, and I thought it would look better with an edge up so you can see the full style. And as you see, like very clean style, very nice blend on him. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm just adding a little bit of hairspray at the end. But like I said, let me know what you guys think. If you found this helpful, don't forget to share it with anyone that you may know that might find this information helpful, may find this tutorial helpful. That's what it's all about. I'm just here to help you guys get better at barbering. Very simple. I'm here to help you guys get better. And like I said, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Any of the products I use will be linked in the description below. So let me know. There it is, little 360 shot of them. You see the little that mohawk guideline in the back, you see how it dips down in the back like that, and it appears like it's a drop fade. So, but I'm gonna get out of here, guys. It's been your man, I Do It. I'm signing out. I'm all the way up out of here, and I'll holler.